She had never imagined that a simple flight could turn into the most embarrassing moment of her life, but that morning on the crowded Mumbai-Delhi flight, Ria had woken up already irritated, running late, juggling a coffee, a laptop bag, and the crushing realization that her presentation for the next day still needed work. She rushed through security, bumped into 3 people, apologized twice, and still somehow ended up in the wrong boarding line twice before finally collapsing into her assigned seat, 18A, by the window. Breathing heavily, she muttered to herself about how chaotic her life had been lately, especially because of one person, her boss, Mr. Veer Malhotra, the man she considered the most impossible, unbearable, stone-hearted human being to ever run a company. She didn't notice the man already seated in 18B because he had a newspaper raised high enough to cover his face entirely. She only registered that someone was there when she squeezed past, whispered a rushed, "Sorry," and sat down, adjusting her bag under the seat. The engines hummed to life, the cabin filled with the rustle of seatbelts clicking, and Ria groaned as she pulled out her laptop. "Another presentation," she muttered, loud enough for the man beside her to hear, though she wasn't paying attention. Because of that tyrant, that ugly, soul-sucking tyrant. The newspaper did not move. She assumed the man beside her was simply uninterested or asleep. Ria continued, unaware, unfiltered, and fueled by frustration. "I swear he doesn't even blink. His eyebrows look like they've been carved permanently into a frown. And that voice. Every time he says, 'Ria, can you step into my office?' I swear my soul just leaves my body. And now this last-minute trip, who does that? Who tells someone at 10 p.m. to catch a 7 a.m. flight?" She sighed dramatically, shaking her head. "Ugly personality, ugly attitude, probably ugly face too, but I try not to look long enough to confirm." The man next to her shifted slightly but said nothing. Ria kept going. "Like seriously, who thinks he is? Some royal emperor? He walks like the whole office is his personal kingdom. Just because he founded the company doesn't give him the right to terrorize everyone." She stretched her legs, cracked her knuckles, and whispered, tyrannical creep." Only then did the man fold his newspaper down slowly. Very slowly. Ria did not see it at first because she was busy typing an email to her friend complaining further about the dictator of Delhi, Veer Malhotra. But the moment the paper lowered completely, she froze. Because sitting next to her, in the flesh, in the plain blue formal shirt she had seen hundreds of times, with the same sharp jawline she pretended not to admire, and the same eyes she always looked away from, was none other than Veer Malhotra, her boss. Her very real, very alive, very present boss. Sitting right beside her. Her lungs forgot how to function. Her heart jumped so high it nearly escaped through her throat. Her soul packed its luggage, saluted her, and left permanently. Veer stared at her, expression unreadable, one eyebrow slightly raised, the exact eyebrow she had just mocked. "Good morning, Ms. Ria," he said in the calmest, most polite tone imaginable. Ria nodded stiffly, every muscle in her body turning to stone. "Gee, good morning, sir," she whispered, voice trembling. Silence. A long, painful, bone-crushing silence. She wanted to melt into the airplane seat, slip through the cracks, and fall into the cargo hold. Maybe then she wouldn't have to face the disaster that had just unfolded. Veer finally spoke. "So," he said, turning slightly toward her, "tyrant." Ria wished the plane door would open midair just for her. I didn't mean, actually I mean I did, but, no. I didn't mean it like, sir, I swear, I respect you, I was stressed and," he raised a hand gently and she stopped babbling. Ria. Her name sounded strangely soft when he said it. Relax, relax, relax. Her boss had just heard her call him ugly, tyrannical, a soul-sucking emperor, and he wanted her to relax. He leaned back, arms folded. "I've heard worse. There's worse," she squeaked before slapping both hands over her mouth. Veer actually smiled. A shockingly human smile. Yes, she blinked. Once, twice, thrice. What dimension had she entered? Veer continued, "You're honest. Brutally so. And your colorful review of my leadership style was definitely unexpected." "But," he paused. "Useful, useful," she repeated weakly. "Yes, it reminded me people are tired, overworked, and maybe I have been pushing too hard." She stared at him, completely thrown off. This was not the reaction she expected. She expected firing, scolding, public execution in the office courtyard. But instead, Veer looked thoughtful, almost gentle. "Rhea," he said, "you're one of my best employees. I rely on you because you're capable. It wasn't my intention to make you feel overwhelmed." Her throat tightened. "I'm sorry, sir," she whispered. "I shouldn't have said all that." "Well," he said dryly, "I wasn't supposed to hear it. So I suppose we're both at fault." She let out a strangled laugh. He continued looking at her for a moment before leaning slightly closer. "For the record," he said quietly, "I am not ugly." Rhea turned bright red. "No, I never meant. I mean I didn't really look. I mean I looked but not like, oh God." He laughed. Actually laughed. Shock number 12 of the flight. "It's all right," he said. "Let's call it even. You vented. I learned something. And in the future, try to keep your creative descriptions to yourself." "Yes, sir," she whispered, mortified but oddly relieved. They spent the rest of the flight in surprisingly comfortable silence. And maybe, just maybe, Rhea stole a glance or two at him when he wasn't looking. And maybe, just maybe, he did the same.